Good morning, children. I'm Shanita Miss here again. Okay, welcome to the 10th session of our online class for the standard of 6 and for the subject of science. Okay, so you remember yesterday we have started with the 5th lesson. Okay, that is separation of substances. So in the separation of substances, yesterday I did 4 methods. Okay, one is the handpicking. Okay, so handpicking, you can refer to the diagram, page number 36, figure 5.3. So the bigger particles can be separated from the smaller particles. Okay, then next is threshing. Page number 37, refer to figure 5.4. So this I have told you, mostly it is done by the farmers. Okay, they bundle up the crops, they beat it on the huge boulders of rocks to separate the stalk from the grains. And then the third one is the winnowing. Winnowing is the method used to separate the heavier and the lighter particles. So for that you can refer page number 37, figure 5.5. And the fourth one what I did was sieving. Sieving is to separate the finer particles from the impurities, the very final particles from the impurities. So for that, refer page number 38, figure 5.6 and 5.7. Okay. So today we are going to do about the other 3 methods. Okay. So that is called as sedimentation, decantation, and filtration. Okay. So for that, refer figure 5.8, 5.9, and 5.10. So now I tell you what is the meaning of sedimentation. In your houses, you might have seen mommy doing the cooking work. Okay, for example, she makes rice or she makes dal. So before doing it, what does she do? She puts the ingredients in a vessel, she pours water and she washes it. So you need not observe mommy do it, you yourself can do it and see. Okay, so take a vessel, put a handful of dal. Let it be any dal. Put a handful of dal, pour some water in it, wash it nicely, allow it to rest for some time. Then afterwards you will see that all the dal is settled on the top and all the water is on the top layer with all the impurities. Whatever impurities are there, so that will be on the top layer. So the settling down of the dal, okay, that is, it can be dal, it can be rice, it can be pulses, anything. So why does it settle down? Because it is heavier. Okay, because these are heavier than water, so it settles down. So the settling down of the heavier objects or the heavier components, that is called as sedimentation. Okay, so now you might have known what is sedimentation. Sedimentation means settling down of the heavier particles at the bottom of the vessel. So now next what you are going to do, you are going to pour the water. Okay, so as you pour the water, even the impurities in that will be thrown out along with the water. So the dal will remain in the container and the water will be poured out. So that method of pouring out the water along with the impurities, it is called as decantation. So decantation means pouring out the water which is in the top layer. Okay, pouring out the water which is in the top layer along with the impurities. Okay, so that is called as decantation. And then the next is filtration. Okay, so filtration. Now for example, you go to a juice shop or you are preparing juice at home using the mixing. So what you do, you cut all the fruits, you put it into the mixer, okay, or you might have observed in the juice shop what they do, they put the cut fruits into the mixer bowl and then what they do, they put sugar, they add water and then they grind it up. So it becomes a smooth paste, okay, it becomes a thick liquid. So what do they do? Before giving it to you to drink, they take a strainer, okay, they take a strainer, pour the content in it and then they keep a vessel down and all the juice will be filtered and only the juice will get accumulated or it will get collected in the container, and all the pulp of the fruit or the seeds of the fruits will remain in the strainer. So that is called as filtration. So the simple method I will tell you. Mummy makes tea at home. Okay, so what does she do? She keeps a vessel, she pours water in it, and she puts sugar, and she puts the tea leaves, and then allow it to boil. After it boils, she switches off the stove, she allows it to rest for a few minutes, and then she takes a strainer. Strainer is nothing but a filter what you have at home. And then she keeps the cup or a tumbler down, she keeps the strainer and she pours the decoction, and all the tea leaves will get collected in the filter and only the decoction will get collected in the tumbler. Okay, so that is called as filtration. Okay, so in filtration, not only the strainer is used, you can also use the filter paper. Okay, you can use the filter paper. In your textbooks, it is given how to make the cone in a filter paper and how you can separate the solid and the liquid. That is the liquid and the solid. That is, now for example, tea leaves means tea leaves are solid. Juice means the pulp of it is a solid. Okay, so like that you can separate. Okay, so apart from using a strainer or a filter paper, the filtration can be done by one more process using a clean cloth. Okay, now for example, you are filling water or you are boiling water. So after you boil the water, you allow the water to rest for some time. Okay, or even if you fill water from the tap, you allow it to rest for some time. You can see small impurities down at the bottom of the water or some mud particles at the bottom of the water. So now you need to filter it. So what people do is they take a clean white cloth, okay, tie it up in the vessel, and then they pour the water slowly into it, and all the water will get collected in the container which is below the cloth, and the impurities will be there on the top of the cloth. So even the cloth also can be used for filtration. So apart from this, one more example I give you. Now for example, you think people want to make paneer at home. How do they make? They take the milk, they boil the milk, and once the milk is boiled, they switch off the stove, they take the lime, a few drops of lime, and they pour it into the hot milk. So as soon as the lime juice is poured into the hot milk, the milk will start to curdle, all the milk will get accumulated at the bottom and the water will be on the top. So what they do, they strain out the water or they pour out the water and the thick milk content, they put it in a cloth or a strainer and they squeeze it nicely so that all the water will come out, extra water, and only the milk content will remain in the cloth. So that only they use for making the paneer. Okay, so now we have learned about the three more methods of separating the substances. One is sedimentation. Sedimentation is settling down of heavier particles at the bottom of the vessel. And decantation is throwing away the wastewater along with the impurities which is at the top layer of the vessel. And then next I told you filtration. Filtration is separating the solids and the liquids by using a strainer, filter paper or a clean cloth. Okay children, now we'll see another two methods. Okay, one is the evaporation. I think you should be familiar with these words. Okay, now for example, you wash clothes at home. Okay, so after washing clothes, what do? You put it out for drying. So after few hours, if you see the clothes are fully dry, it is not wet. What happened to all that water in the wet clothes? Okay, all that has been evaporated due to the heat of the sun. So that only it is called as evaporation. So evaporation, refer to figure 5.11 and 5.12. Okay, so the process of conversion means changing from one form to the other form of water into its vapor is called as evaporation. Okay, so now I'll give you another example. When mommy makes things at home, okay, food, okay, or anything. Okay, after she cooks, what does she do? She covers it with a lid. So when it is hot, all that steam which is there inside the vessel, it all comes and accumulates on the lid. So when you take the lid, turn the lid and see, you will find small droplets of water on the lid. So these droplets of water, that is only called as evaporation. Okay, so these droplets of water, okay, or when anything is boiling, keep your hand at a far distance. Okay, the steam which is coming out, you could literally see the smoke in it or the steam coming out and touching your palm. So when you, after a few minutes, when you look at your palm, you can feel your palm has become wet. So this is nothing but the evaporation of the water, that is the vapor. Okay, the vapor which comes and touches your palm. So you get the water droplets. It is called as the water vapor. So this water vapor is again an example of evaporation. Okay, now for example, take a container. Add a tumbler of water. Put a spoon of salt. Allow the water to boil. Okay, as the water is boiling and boiling and boiling and boiling, and finally when you look into the vessel, there is no water at all. Okay, don't keep on too high flame. Keep it on the sim and allow the water to boil completely from the vessel. So after it is boiled completely from the vessel, when you look into the vessel, you will find no water, but you can see small crystals of salt in it. So what happened to all the water? It has been evaporated. Okay, in your smaller classes or in the forthcoming classes, you will also learn about water cycle. So what is water cycle? Okay, you know there are oceans, seas, all the water bodies. Okay, so the sun's rays fall on the water becomes hot. So when the water becomes hot, it starts to evaporate. As it evaporates, it rises into the atmosphere and then it goes and forms the clouds, and as the water vapor forms the clouds become heavier, and one day it bursts and comes back to the earth in the form of rain. So that is called as the natural water cycle, because nobody fills water into the beaches or nobody fills water into the oceans and the seas. It is again coming back to the earth in the form of rain. So this is a process of evaporation and condensation together. Okay, so that now the next method is condensation. Okay, for that refer figure 5.13. Okay, the process of conversion. Conversion is again changing from one form to the other form of water vapor. Okay, so here it is the water vapor. Okay, in evaporation, the water vapor which is coming out in form of steam, that is called as water vapor, and that is in the form of evaporation. So here the same water vapor, when it is cooled, okay, when it is cooled, when it becomes cold again, it comes back to the normal temperature. You take the lid, tilt it and see, all the droplets is poured down like water. So that is what we call as condensation. So the process of conversion of water vapor into its liquid form. Liquid form is again back to water, is called condensation. So I think you might have understood what is evaporation and what is condensation. So evaporation is formation of water vapor and condensation is the cooled water vapor becoming into water again. Okay, so now we'll stop up till here. In the next session, I'll take the other methods. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can come and clarify. The assignment will be set on the group. Thank you.